Hello and welcome to Honey Badger Radio number 72, Anti-Social Media with Computing Forever. I'm joined by the usual list of suspects. Karen, who will no doubt be rubbing her e-peen all over this conversation. Hannah Wallen, resident punisher. Dr. Random Mercam, our expert in high-impact, long-range artillery. And our special guest. Sniping, friend, sniping.
Some people say... What the hell was that?
I don't know. Did we lose you, Allison?
Briefly.
I go to... What the...
Allison.
She didn't turn off the hangout thing.
Allison, you gotta mute the... Okay. Mute the video while you're watching it. So, I'll finish introducing other people's while you figure that out. So yeah, we introduced Karen and myself, who gives a shit, and our very special guest, Dave, Computing Forever. Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm the special guest. Oh,
you are
the
special guest.
Really dropped.
Yeah,
wow, that was...
It's really
totally
your
fucked up. I
that matter, David. So,
Okay.
yeah. Don't you feel special now?
That's
And my
fine.
e-peen must take a back seat to your e-peen.
Yeah, and Brian has a delightful list of questions that he's worked up for you to answer, and I apologize again for that completely screwed up intro. It was entirely my fault. I apparently had the thing unmuted, which I can't believe
Such
I
a
did
noob
that.
error, and yet,
I know.
and yet we always do it. Somebody has to do it. At least it's like the
Well,
quote.
at least-
The quota's been fulfilled for the week.
Yeah, the quota's been fulfilled, and at least it's the one with stabbing gut pain. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. So, I thought we would have a show about what the state of our very popular social media. We noticed that this has been going on for a while, and you've talked about it on your channel. What's been going on with Twitter? What's been going on with Facebook? And now YouTube. So. First off, though, there are probably people who may not know who you are, so why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your channel? How do you find yourself talking about culture and social justice warrior stuff over tech, which you seem to be more interested in?
I think when it comes to YouTube, you are what you watch, really. So I love doing the tech stuff for a long time, but it's like everything else. You just become very concerned with the state of the world. And I began watching, I guess it began in a similar path to everybody else with the atheism stuff, the Horseman, Harris, Hitchens, Dennett, Shermer, all these kind of guys. And then gradually I've kind of worked my way through finding Sargon and Thunderfoot and everybody like that, and found that this kind of content was just more important and resonated more with me. So the tech stuff is, I think the last time I spoke to you, it was like 80% tech, 20% social commentary, and now it's like very much the other way around.
Really?
So yeah. So
I can understand how how important this conversation has become. Allison, you were about to say something?
Yeah. Also, you're echoing.
That's not me.
I am.
Oh yeah, I think it's on your end, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, so I actually did want to ask. So do you like? Do you find this tiring? Like all of this social justice warrior stuff, and sometimes exhausting?
Yeah, it's funny. I went on vacation for the first time in a decent 2-week vacation for the first time in many years 2 weeks ago, and I was visiting my sister. She lives in Brazil, and I thought this is going to be great. I'm really going to unplug and disconnect. And I mostly did, but then the demonetization fiasco happened, and I felt I needed to comment, so I made a couple of videos down there. So I wasn't really disconnecting, and I find that it occupies so much of my mind. I'm not really able to fully unplug because there's a worry. There's a worry if you're going to have a YouTube channel there tomorrow. You're going to worry when the next steel-toed boot drops and the terms change and the world changes, and you're kind of always on. I mean, Twitter and Minds and these sites, I'm so massively invested down the rabbit hole that it is exhausting, and you guys are very much aware of that. I'm sure you guys endlessly bang your head against the table when it comes to MRA stuff, and it's just like that with social justice and everything else. And I remember my sister saying, gotta be careful, because this stuff is not being careful what you say. I mean, she's just like free speech, whatever. But it's the drain it has emotionally after a time, and how it colors your perspective on the world. I mean, you're dealing with these very heavy subjects, and you are just a person with an internet connection, and you can't really. Sometimes it just feels like the tennis ball machine is like hitting you at 1,000 miles an hour, and you're just batting them back one at a time, and you can't really make a significant amount of change. You're one person. So you gotta, and you're spending, as I'm a full-time YouTuber, I spend most of my time living a life of solitary confinement in this room. So I think you need to be kind of careful on that. Sorry, that's a rather dark response to your question, but that's kind of where my head is at. Yeah.
Thanks for helping all of us out, David. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't that crappy intro. That it was all your heartfelt response to my question. That's what totally destroyed the stream. No, I hear you. In fact, I would say that I've experienced a lot of that. I think I don't know if you know about the recent fundraiser that we did for a actual physical office space. Did you hear about that?
I hadn't heard that. No.
Yeah, we actually, long story, and it does tie to the sort of the ennui you have of just being an isolated YouTube box almost. I was in the process of purchasing a actual office space so that myself and Brian could and Mike and possibly Karen, if she ever wants to come over, could collaborate in a physical space.
Never.
Yes,
never.
Of course, never. All right, because we could collaborate in a physical space, because it is really like it's a really nice feeling. And we've recently uploaded the couching we did in the UK because we got together. It's a nice feeling to actually get together and talk about these things in person. It's actually very relieving in a lot of ways, because it relieves the isolation. It relieves the stress of feeling like you're the only one batting those tennis balls back. And
it's much better without the lag.
Yeah, and it's much better without the lag, because the lag is, it's a pain in the ass. So
I'd imagine so. I mean, it's a very weird occupation that we have, and Ireland is small. I mean, there's just nobody really doing that. I can think of one other person doing this, and who's a reasonably well-known YouTuber here in this country. And it's nice to see people in 3D, and you can reach out and touch them, and they're an actual person, as opposed to looking at the world through a screen.
Yeah, it gets very isolating. So just a brief thing on the fundraiser. I originally put out, and I thought I'd only need like a 35% down payment, but then the bank dropped the ball, and our listeners picked it up, or listenators picked it up. So we now have it completely paid off, and we're going to go forward with the renovations. And for me, in terms of like dealing with the negativity, that was really positive, because now we have a community that can do something like that. That's a lot of support, and so I wanted to put that out there. I know that there's a lot of people who are thinking about these issues and wanting to do something about these issues. So I think that it's not quite so isolated, and I just wanted to say that to you. I think that there's a growing community that's willing to put the rubber to the road. What's the right metaphor here? I can see you want to talk, Karen.
Willing to put their money where their mouth is. Yes.
Yeah, and that's what's going to create real change.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, because like early on, like I did a video years ago called "Gender is Bumming Me Out," and it was just like, well, this sucks, because I had started to sort of uncover enough evidence that indicated to me that some things are not changeable, right? And then I actually went and did a whole bunch of soul searching and brought about an entire shift in my focus from essentially from getting things done, right? I'm not the doer. I'm not the person who's going to ever head up an organization and be able to like direct an effort, a lobby effort, or whatever. This is like completely against my natural strengths and inclinations to do that. And profound laziness. Yes, my boyfriend agrees. He's nodding vigorously. But when I shifted my focus not to away from getting things done and making change happen, or finding some way to make change happen, and put it almost entirely on figuring out and picking apart the problem itself, right, and investigating the nature of the issues. And my talk in Ottawa was all about sort of the human challenges involved in why it's so difficult to do stuff like this, whether it's advocating for men or whether it's opposing feminism or even social justice causes, things like that. To get into the psychology and try and understand it, why it's so difficult for people to accept or tolerate, say, a men's issues advocate like Warren Farrell giving a speech on the boy crisis and the high rates of male suicide and low rates of educational attainment. How that could be protested, and protested so vigorously and illegally, with no arrests, no condemnation from the university, with the full support of the university's women's studies program and the largest public sector union in Canada, right? And yet they're the underdogs, and we are the agents of the patriarchy that controls everything.
Hail Keck!
Yeah. So hail Keck. Keck is all powerful. But once I decided that was going to be what I was going to do, that was my task, was investigating all of that. I just became fascinated. With the nature of human beings, with how we came to be this way, the double-edged nature of a lot of these things. You know, some of the stuff that's preventing us from making progress in this area are the very things that became adaptive because they worked so well in the past. So this has been sort of, and I am invigorated by it, even the kind of some things are never going to change, or if they change, they're not going to change very much. Even embracing that as a probability doesn't bum me out the way it used to bum me out once I changed my focus a little bit and changed my approach psychologically and mentally just a little bit to I want to solve the puzzle, but not necessarily the problem, right? And that's how I get through it. That's how I became energized by this, rather than sort of defeated and discouraged. So,
and I try to, like I said, I try to focus on what we've managed to accomplish as a community, and that's pretty profound. Like, this is 55K in 3 weeks. You know, is it? I mean, it's not huge. It's a drop in the bucket. I look at she for he or he for she. That probably was the cost of, I don't know. Probably Emma Watson's speaking fee was twice that. Yeah. But still, it's a huge leap forward for us as a community and getting towards being able to manage these issues. And the way that I approach it is I look at what we can do and try to avoid, because there are other moments, like I totally sympathize with you, Dave. I look at all of this and I'm like, oh my fucking god, it's so overwhelming, and it's so scream worthy. But then I have to get out of that and just focus on what can I do right now to maybe improve the situation a little bit in the next 5 minutes, and just go with that. And also I want to extend an invitation. If you're ever in Canada, feel free to drop in on the Badger Cave. And I think Brian
definitely will.
And I think Brian
so this is where you're going to be. This is like a permanent studio type setup that you guys are all in.
Yep, it's a permanent studio type setup. There's some practical and logistical aspects to it. I cannot get reasonable internet where I am because it's a residential area, and those zonings really mean something in rural Saskatchewan. So yeah, and then I can start to hopefully, do the fight for a proper internet. And I've learned that there's a possibility, and we're all pretty sure that there's a possibility that there's dark fiber in the town. So we're looking into that, which is basically, dark fiber is when the SaskTel, which is our telephone company, decides it doesn't want to announce the fact that it's put fiber optic cable into your community, so it doesn't put the symbols on the map. but we are pretty sure it does because we've asked SaskTel about it, and we've asked another internet provider, and they actually gave us a quote on how much it would cost to get proper internet in. So, and now we're going and we're working with yet another internet provider. So it's going to be an interesting process, but yeah, I think I've moved this way off of the topic of anti-social media. Aside from just dealing with this stuff by getting together and having fun with it, I think that's important.
Yeah, look, humor works. I appreciate the content. I mean, I have to say, no matter how down and dreary it can get sometimes, I'm inspired by the really young people, like Chris Ray Gunn, who come along and just like are willing to break every rule in the book and just completely defy the terms of service on YouTube and make some parody video, and that kind of inspires me. That kind of gives me a little bit of lift to keep going. But there you go.
And like Shoe on Head and other people that just sort of laugh. Yeah,
that stuff as well. It's a little bit more irreverent, which I think you have to be. I
would assume that if you ask them, they would say they are laughing as the world burned. But at least they're laughing, This is it seems that, to me anyway, this culture war is the only thing I can call it. It seems to be like a war of endurance. It's about outlasting your opponents, and at least that's the way that it's been going out. And I think that that's why we get so exhausted, because you can have. It's like you can have all the facts and data and statistics at your disposal, and the people that you're trying to convince or talk to, they're just plugging their ears and saying la 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 la, and at the same time, they're and we can probably get into this more, but while at the same time the stuff that they believe is being repeated ad nauseum, even though it's inaccurate and anti-liberal, and they do this on media, like on YouTube, and you'll see it in academia, and you'll see it on television and cable. So it's tough. It's basically about outlasting people. At least that's what it seems like.
Say it enough times, it becomes fact.
Oh yeah, a lie is halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on.
Yeah, there's another individual that I take a lot of, and I will never remember his name because I cannot remember names for the life of me, but he was a POW in during the Vietnam War. So he was in the Hanoi Hilton, and he said that the people who ended up, dying, were the ones who were actually hopeful. The ones who said, oh, this will be over by Christmas. Oh, this will be over by Easter. Oh, this will be over by Thanksgiving. And that those dates would come and it wasn't over. And the ones who survived are the ones who are saying, okay, we're in it for the long haul. So we need to learn how to endure this situation right now. And figure out ways just to go step by step to just process it and live with it and endure the amount of time it's going to take for us to get free, if we get free. And he ended up, I believe, being in that place for 8 years, and he had his bones broken multiple times, like subject to torture. And I think whenever I get into that headspace, like, oh my God, this is so horrible, I think about that. I think about having the mental fortitude to be able to create a structure to get yourself through years and years and years of torture. And I figure, yeah, this is really bad, but I think I can get it another 5 minutes, do something more, try to move towards a positive solution. So that's something that I think about. Did you want to move it?
Say something? I was just slitting my wrists right now. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, Allison.
Oh no!
I get what you're saying, Allison. I understand.
No, I didn't mean to trivialize anything.
Other people have more difficult than we do. They absolutely do. But
it's not just that they have it more difficult, but this and I forget what his name was. This is horrible. But he created a system to get through it. He created a system to deal with the torture. He created a system to deal with the isolation. He created a system to help the other men under his command who were being held captive. And that process of just saying, okay, systematizing how I'm going to endure that was what kept him alive. And that's what we're trying to point at, is that even no matter how bad it is, you can make steps towards making it better.
You know what's really, really indicative of things getting better? It's an article on the Daily Mail that was posted yesterday. Okay, and the headline is, generation of young women is racked by anxiety, lack of confidence, and despair caused by financial, work, and housing problems, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, at the end of the article, okay, it says, the number of young women worried about the future rose from 38% to 55% in a year, its research said, adding that a Brexit factor could not be ruled out. Academic Belinda Brown of the Young Foundation said, there is research which shows that if you tell women they are discriminated against all the time, it actually reduces their levels of self-esteem. Young men have more problems. We should just think about young people and stop setting them up against each other, which is what feminist stuff often does. That was the end of the article. That is a sign of hope. That is a sign of hope that an article that starts with the headline, life is stressful, women suffer most, can end with, yeah, actually young men have more problems than young women. And part of the reason why young women might be more stressed out than young men by the problems in their lives is that they are constantly being told that they're being victimized.
Okay.
You know, I don't always necessarily even look for something that distinctive. This part of this comes of, being on Twitter a lot and other social media a lot, and just conversing with people. And I run into trolls, and I run into people that have very strong opinions, and then I run into people that want to talk and are, they have an idea, and there may be things they don't know, and there are things that they believe that are misconceptions and things like that. And depending on who you're talking to, there can be little victories. And the little victory that to me is a huge victory, because it's really my goal when I use social media, is when I make somebody think. And I know I've made somebody think when they come back with maybe a statement of resistance to something I've said, but it doesn't necessarily sound as decisive. Like there are a lot of times when I'll ask questions instead of making statements, and I'll get an answer back that lets me know they don't want to give up on the thing that they were dedicated to at the beginning of the conversation, but they'll concede points that I make. And I would liken it to grinding in a game where you have some big goal at the end of grinding, but you have little victories on the way that you're building up. You're building up your character strength, and you're building up your character's repertoire of weapons or armor and things like that, or wealth, and you're just getting a little tiny bit at a time, and it doesn't feel like you're making progress until you realize every single little gold piece, or every single little new weapon, or every single enemy that you've defeated in the game is a step towards that bigger goal, where you're ready to go on to the next stage, and so on. And in this particular situation, the next stage is something that's going to take a lot of people, and they won't necessarily all have to be MRAs. They won't necessarily all have to be anti-feminists. They just all have to be awake enough and aware enough to realize that something is wrong, and that part of what that is the failure to acknowledge, that men and boys are human, and that human rights apply to them the same as they apply to everybody else, or that just because people are of different ethnicities doesn't mean that a human rights issue applies differently to them. Things like that. So, it's when I look for a victory, I don't necessarily look for a change in headlines, or being able to meet a financial goal. Sometimes it all it takes for me to feel like a little sense of encouragement, a little realization that, hey, this is working, is to look on Reddit and see how much Reddit's men's rights subreddit has grown. How many more people are just interested in reading what's there, or look and see how many views a particular post on our blog has. see who's talking about stuff, see what people are commenting on, or get that answer back from somebody. Well, I'm still dedicated to this idea, but you're right that X is true, or I hadn't thought of it that way. I'll have to think about this. And that's a huge victory for me.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say to Dave, you give yourself permission to just step away. So I know it's like when like you were saying, using that tennis ball analogy, and you said that you were drawn back because there's just so many of them. There's always going to be tennis balls. It's inevitable, And what really matters is that you keep yourself in a mental position to continue on. In my opinion.
You know what I do? You know what I do to cheer myself up is every time I come across an incidence of Doctor of Sociology, Christy Winters, the expert in everything, online, every time I come across her in her all caps, like she always does, needed, right? Okay, to anybody, I say, hey, speaking of citations, I was just wondering, if you could actually address the fact that you, in your opening statements in your debate with Sargon of Akkad, you came right out and asserted falsely that it's perfectly legal and not against the law to orally rape a passed out woman in the mouth, in Oklahoma. And I just wonder what you have to say about that, considering that particular instance of, that particular type of incident falls under the sexual battery statute, and the prosecutor was dumb enough to try it under the forcible sodomy statute, which doesn't apply. And I have to actually draw your attention to the fact that people in Oklahoma have enough problems with Bubba and Cletus cornpone stereotypes of how they are, and I'm sure that probably contributed to your ability to believe just on face value this claim that this particular act is not illegal in Oklahoma, right? But I'm almost positive that they don't really need more people in positions of authority adding to those stereotypes, like this. So could you please address this? And I'm an absolute polite cunt about it every single fucking time, and it makes me feel so. It's mean, but it gives me so much pleasure.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd rather just call her a cabbage-faced Nas Gunch from the nth circle of a frozen hell.
Yeah,
it takes all sorts, you see.
She does that. She does this citation needed thing, and she holds everybody up to these incredibly Jim Noel Plum 99, a firefighter. Okay, she's holding him to academic standards. She's saying, you don't have citations for this, even though he's got so many citations, they don't fit in the low bar, so he left a link saying, citations can be found here on my blog, and he posts them there. She says, you don't have any citations for your stuff, and it's not up to an academic standard, because this is YouTube. And everybody on YouTube should be, up to a freaking master's thesis level of freaking intellectual and academic rigor, right? Because otherwise I don't have to consider anything you ever say, right?
Yeah, okay, but it's Christy Winters being... but the interaction with Christy Winters... Because the thing is that a lot of this stuff, it goes on social media, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook. And with these new policies that are being rolled out, we're going to see these people like Christy Winters being able to shut down any kind of opposition. And I totally agree with you, Karen. When I get into these arguments on social media with feminists, and I get to the point where they cannot answer a yes and no question, and I just keep asking it, it just makes me feel happy inside. That I'm forcing them to think.
And it's so mean, and it's so, my inner cunt, my inner bitch, just, freaking emerges as, Cthulhu, out of my throat, right? And I just can't, and it just feels so delicious to do that.
So what is delicious for me is when I post something on Twitter, and, I post a link to something that I want people to see because it's got information, or it's got a gotcha statement or something along those lines, where I want people to consider what's been said there. And at first it doesn't get much of anything, and then some feminist comes along and argues with it, and we get into a long knockdown, drag out Twitter battle over it. And the next time I look, because the stupid cunt has been arguing with me, it now has 30,000 views.
Yeah, that's satisfying. But you know what? We probably should get back to the conversation about social media. I know this is the gotchas and
why social media is so useful. This is why
it allows us all, like, it allows these points of views to actually get in contact with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's becoming an imperative for social media outlets to start censoring stuff, because we can't have a situation where all of these different points of view hash it out forever long it takes. Maybe it'll take a couple of generations for people to be less, I don't know what they are, like emotional reasoning. And then you have the trolls who basically live off of provoking an emotional reasoning response and exhausting people through it. I mean, it's marvelous, and they want to shut it all down.
There is hope. There is hope in the form of, what do they call them? Generation Z. I read an article about some studies in which they're already starting to show some signs of more conservatism, that they're far less. I don't have a problem with classical liberalism, but they're far less regressive liberal. You know, they conservative about everything from, I don't know, trans stuff to tattoos and all this kind of stuff. And I think this is something that Milo predicted. It's always the same. Social justice was once the radical group of outsiders, and now they've become the man. So now it's no longer fashionable to be a social justice warrior. So the next generation of teenagers coming up, they're going to be entering college in the next 5 or 6 years, and I think that's really where the fight back is going to truly come, because it's going to become more fashionable to kick against the establishment, because obviously kids are going to be naturally anti-establishment. So I think that's something that they're going to look to us as their inspiration for. So let's hope, Emily.
Kind of what happened in the 90s, although the pendulum hadn't swung as far, and it didn't swing as far in the other direction, and I think it swung a lot further this time, and it's going to go back the other way a lot further too.
Yeah, for a long time now, the left has done a very good job of making the right seem like they're in charge of everything.
Yeah,
this is largely the feeling of both the left and the right. The right loves to think that they are in charge, and the left loves to think that they're not. And they've both gone on for a long time, sort of under their own thumbs. and we've all gone along with it, thinking, yeah, the right must be the people in charge, because they like things the way they are, and there's no other kind of in charge. But this is how long it's taken for a new generation to go, hang on, no, this is bullshit. You're telling me the left's not in charge? Look at this.
People have been asking. People have been asking on a recent video I did, and indeed on the chat I see here, that does Minds allow you to upload videos? It does, but there's a new video uploader coming to Minds soon, just so people are aware. Anyway, sorry.
I did want to say too, like, because this generation of people who are not necessarily embracing conservatism in terms of, we're going to deny trans people exist, or gays should be back in prison for sodomy and all of that, right? But there are people like my son, okay, and my son, my youngest, he's 14, and he is, like, I raised a troll. He is an absolute 100% troll, and he will fuck with people just to fuck with them. And he wanted a Can't Stump the Trump hoodie to wear to school to essentially terrorize his friends.
Nice.
Trigger them, okay, because his friends all think that Trump is like evil incarnate. I wanted to compliment you on your Pepe Trump adjustment to your avatar there, Hannah.
Thank you.
Like he literally, he has so much fun with it. And he is just, you know what? I'm gonna fucking say whatever the fuck I want. And y'all can go kick me off the server, I'll find another one, right? And that's essentially his entire attitude toward all of this stuff. He's not scared of Trump. He thinks Hillary is freaking crazy, right? But he's not, and he doesn't necessarily think Trump is like the bee's knees or anything, but he's not scared of him, right? He knows that there are things in place that will prevent Trump from pushing the button and nuking Russia. That just is not something that can happen just on a president's whim, and everybody in government knows it, and yet the Democrats are still essentially saying he's going to have his finger on the button and he's going to be able to nuke Russia. right? Just on a whim. Yet, no, he can't and he won't. And if he tries, he'll be relieved of duty by the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
And yet, it's him that actually wants to begin a real cross collaboration with respect to resources with Putin, and yet it's Hillary's the one that has often said, Russia better get in line, and we're not afraid to we'll stand up against Russia, we'll stand up against Iran, and so I'm much more concerned with Hillary doing another Benghazi type situation, quite honestly.
Yeah, no, and so essentially what we have is a generation of teenagers who were raised with 4chan. They were raised with shit talking while playing Team Fortress 2 or World of Warcraft. They were raised knowing what Top Kek means and what over 9,000 means and what all your base are belong to us means and all of this stuff. Like they were raised getting the memes, the Pepe freaking bullshit, all of those things. They're laughing at the adults, right? Like my sister didn't get half the freaking references in my slideshow. She's just turned 50, right? She didn't get half the references because I was referencing internet memes that came from 4chan and 9gag and fucking all kinds of other places. And it's like she has no clue what the younger generation is actually doing, and she has no clue that this younger generation is it's a lot more cynical than even Generation Xers, Gen Yers, and millennials have always been. They've got access to like the dark net and shit like that, right? They've got access to information that is not subject to gatekeeping by the mainstream media, right? And they have gotten used to saying whatever the fuck they want. They've gotten used to being able to express themselves however they want. And so this coming generation of teenagers, I think, is maybe going to be something that actually breaks this sort of brick wall of freaking establishment bullshit where feminism and social justice causes are portrayed as the underdog to the entirety of the population by the mainstream that supports feminism and social justice causes, right? Yeah.
Oh my god, okay.
Okay, so...
Go for it. Oh my god, the memes are coming thick and fast. Dave actually wanted to speak, sorry.
Oh, okay, Dave. All right. Before we go on to question number 2, Dave.
Hello?
Yes, you wanted to say something?
No, I did not want to say anything.
Oh, all right. Well then, let me ask the second question. We kind of, we may have already sort of touched on this, but which social media platforms do you think are the most authoritarian with their censorship? Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, 4chan, whatever. Have you given this a lot of thought? And what do you think?
I haven't really ranked them, to be honest. I think Twitter is begrudgingly tolerant, and YouTube has been for a while. Yes, we've lost Milo, but that's one. And there's shadow banning, and I was shadow banned for a few hours there the other day and today. And we have hashtags that are particularly popular, like Free Milo at that time, and among others, and pro-Trump related hashtags are often initially very popular, and then they're buried artificially, to kind of bypass the egalitarian free market aspect. The algorithm is very biased, but I think Facebook's the worst. To be honest with you, YouTube is catching fast now, but I think Facebook is worse. I think people think YouTube is worse because so many people are content creators, and the changes will so profoundly negatively affect them because it directly relates to their income. So when they fuck with someone like myself, it really hurts very badly. But I think Facebook's the worst because there's literally just words you can type in, like faggot, and you're done. You're toast.
Yep, it happened to me. I think I used the word tranny, and I got removed from Facebook for a time. And there are even people who are transgendered that use the word tranny, like Blair White, have been removed from Facebook.
I wonder if that's hitting the auto repair forums. I mean, they talk about transmissions because they call them trannies.
Well, not anymore. They
That'd
don't.
be hilarious. The thing about Facebook that really bothers me is that they have started to remove. They've really started to remove your anonymity. You cannot be anonymous, so you cannot have political speech that might make you a target without risking being targeted in your home or in your workplace and things like that. And to the point now where if somebody's account gets flagged and sometimes for other reasons they're demanding your license number or some other type of ID, and that's a great risk for other reasons, because I mean every day we're hearing about a different hack, a different website getting, like just today it came out that some huge number of Yahoo email accounts got hacked, and it's everything from shopping sites to government websites to schools to whatever. So Facebook isn't, to think that they're immune to that is bullshit. So if they're storing people's ID, that's a huge identity theft risk for something as petty and small as being on a social media site. And I would not give them my license number. If that comes up, if my Facebook account disappears, which I almost never use anyway, but if it disappears, it's probably because they asked for my license number. And that'll be it. I'll be gone. I can't trust that. And Twitter might have been hit first, but I think you're right. I think Facebook is the worst because they've become really authoritarian and they've become really it's kind of creepy to have somebody ask for your ID for something that minor.
Oh, the other thing about Facebook is wasn't it like their committee about misogyny, anti-misogyny committee? I remember covering it like a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember that?
Women Action and Media.
Yeah, now Women Action and Media, the first place I saw them was on Reddit, and they started out attacking Twitter over a Twitter battle over changing the face on a piece of currency in the UK to a female face.
Criado Perez.
Right, and that led to a couple of people who were like more trollish than your regular troll. And they actually did some illegal things that are illegal in the UK. They wouldn't have been illegal here in the US, but they were illegal in the UK, and there were arrests. But there were like 2 people that were arrested out of all of this huge discussion that had hundreds of people in the discussion. There were only 2 people that were arrested, and they made it out. Yeah, one of them was a woman. One of them was a woman, and they made it out like Twitter was this battleground of men harassing women and women being scared off of social media, which was bullshit. And they bullied Twitter into adding the report button to people's profile, so you can go to somebody's profile and report their profile instead of just reporting individual tweets. And that's if you feel like reporting instead of just blocking and moving on. And this is something like when that changed, I noticed that if I posted something and it got a lot of attention and it actually got flack from feminists, after it started getting flack from feminists, then I would suddenly get dozens of profile views. So they're using it because that's the only time I ever get dozens of profile views associated with a particular tweet is when I piss off feminists. And it tells you right there that they're going to my profile and reporting it for something, probably spam. But that's how Judgy Bitch got banned from Twitter, was that they were going to her images and her profile and reporting her for spam. And like she's permabanned. And the last thing that they reported, that they mass reported, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, was a picture of a wedding cake. Not even something controversial. It's just a picture of a wedding cake that she decorated. So, like I've said in my video, feminists don't understand cake.
All right, so moving on from that question, this is a related one. Speaking of YouTube, so have you seen the new video for YouTube Heroes? And what do you think about that? Do you think that this is setting a ridiculously dangerous precedent, or do you think that there will be suddenly a whole lot of trolls will have YouTube accounts.
Well, it depends. Are we the trolls or are they the trolls?
I don't know. I think that I don't know what YouTube is hoping to accomplish, but let's say.
I actually.
Go ahead, Karen.
Couldn't we harness this the way some people on the men's rights subreddit harnessed Occidental College's anonymous online?
Oh no! Oh my god! This is such cancer that's coming out of your mouth.
Actually, okay.
No,
First of all, no, that was not actually a Reddit gig. That was largely 4chan, and 4chan had admitted it. That was BTAR.
There were some people on
Redditors
Reddit
involved.
who were saying, "Yeah, we should do this." And honestly,
But it was a BTAR gig.
It was, and I'm sorry, but nobody can argue that it was interfering with the proper process of the proper operations of this, other than bombarding it. But when you have complaints of sexual assault, that are essentially
what you're referring to.
I was raped by a female freshman named Fatty McFatfat. Okay, everybody knows that's fake.
Okay, so
right?
The Occidental College incidents was they essentially allowed people to anonymously accuse other students and staff of sexual misconduct. So for those of you who don't know about this particular incident, a while back, and apparently it was the B-tards that exploited the flaw in the system. I wonder if anybody hearing this
who did so too. Yes,
who hearing
there
this
were Redditors
the
involved.
immediate flaw.
Yeah, there were Redditors that were involved, but it was mostly BTards. And the thing is, it exposed the flaw in the system and made it very obvious why that system, the way it was set up, it made it very obvious why it was a stupid system and needed to be reformed, needed to be changed. And feminists got upset about it. David Futrell wrote this massive article about it. It was actually hilarious, the way they were upset about this, and it never occurred to any of them that if all of that false reporting was actually keeping valid reports from being investigated, that indicated that the way it was set up was a bad way to set it up. They needed to set it up in such a way that only students could use that and not the general public.
Exactly. It essentially it exposed the flaws, the absolute hideous flaws in the system, of where you're able to accuse anybody, including a professor, of a number of acts that are so implausible as to be completely, my professor abducted me into a spaceship and anally probed me for 17 hours, right? And I consider that to be rape, right? And so it can be exploited, right, by somebody who's going to maybe tell a story that's a little more believable, but still just wants to harm that person, right? Mm-hmm. So essentially, it exposed all of the flaws and all of the vulnerabilities of the system as they had set it up. Now,
so what you're proposing is that we do this again with the YouTube system. Hey, you know what? We could watch the actual video.
Well, here's something I'd like to do. I'd like to get Dave's answer to the question.
Yes. Okay,
oh, yeah, that's right, Dave. I forgot you were there.
I did make a video about this topic earlier. This is YouTube's attempt to enforce their vague and nebulous terms of service, because the terms of service have existed, and they've realized that there's just too many videos, too many hateful videos, of course, speaking out against narratives of social justice, political correctness, or in my case it seems anti-Hillary content, because they have a very Google in general has a pro-Hillary bias. Just go to Google and type in Hillary Clinton is or Hillary Clinton health and see what the autocomplete comes back with, and they compare that to DuckDuckGo or Bing. So we know that they've been very
go ahead, Dave. Finish.
We know that they've been very
go after this show, go read the Observer article on exactly that, and you'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We know they've been burying, search results and rankings and all that kind of stuff. So I think that they've now decided to enlist the help of people to help them go through those videos. And I don't. People have been saying to me, Dave, when it came to the demonetization thing we had 2 weeks ago, clearly this is an attempt at censorship. I mean, it's just you're not being censored because your videos are still there, but it's a censorship through disincentive, first of all, which I think is important, and you begin that chilling effect where you self-censor and you leave things out of your tags, and because you don't include certain things in your keywords because the bot is trolling to try and censor you as a result of those things. I had a video hit talking about the Nice attacks. I had a video demonetized talking about the Paris attacks because I had that stuff in the keywords. So when you do that, you self-censor, obviously. And now what they've done is they established the demonetization guidelines, which were absolutely ridiculous. I think I still have them saved here somewhere.
Yeah. I'd like to go a little bit, maybe attempt to go a little bit deeper into this. Before this demonetization stuff started happening, people could make content about whatever they wanted, and they would still have ads. But now, for whatever reason, advertisers are pulling out of, off of certain kinds of content. But it's funny because they wouldn't do that before. And some people who are really large YouTubers, I watched Grade A Under A, who I'm a big fan of. I think he's very funny, and I like his content. He made one about this, and he said that it is essentially a choice that is being made by the advertisers, and it's not YouTube's fault. And therefore, if they choose that, to pull out their content because you talk about, I think he was addressing Mr. Repsion, who talks about lots of different things, but mostly he makes anti-SJW content. And that also involves conversations about things like rape and feminism and, whatever. Violence, the violence of third world nations run by Islam, for example. And he says, Grade A Under A says that, makes the argument, and many people do, that there are advertisers that don't want to be associated with that kind of content. Because, for example, McDonald's or whatever. But the where I find that there's a sticking point is a couple things. One is they didn't have a problem with it before because they weren't demonetizing before whatever happened that made them change. And secondly, it seems to me that this is an extension of a tactic that is often used by social justice warriors, which is guilt by association. It reminds me of one of the earliest debates between Sargon and Kevin Logan, where I think it was Sargon, maybe it was somebody else, I could be wrong, but I believe that it was Sargon, and he had Davis Arini on his channel once, and they were discussing the Sarkeesian effect, I think, which is that movie that never really came out. But Kevin Logan was saying that Sargon is a bad person because he had a person on that had beliefs that Kevin Logan deemed to be bad. And therefore, by Sargon giving Davis Arini a platform, he was encouraging those beliefs onto his own subscribers. So essentially, he was doing this guilt by association thing. It's sort of like the reason why, until Dave Rubin left the Young Turks, there were many people that he has on his show now that he would never have had on. There's this idea that if you have somebody on that has like a contentious opinion, or maybe an unpopular one, like a Milo or a Ben Shapiro, or even like a ham sandwich, or even make me a ham sandwich. Yes, or even like I don't know, like a white supremacist. Then by having them on and giving them a platform so you can talk to them, you are actually encouraging their worldview and you agree with it. This is a leftist way of thinking, and I wonder if this isn't bleeding into the advertising. Now, I'll let Mike, you wanted to take a shot, or
oh fuck, what was I gonna say?
I was talking about guilt by association. I was talking about.
If you've had a bad person on your show, then the only way to cleanse your soul after that is to have a feminist on the show. What, like you, Kev? Yeah, like me. You're on the show right now, Kev. Yeah. Does that make everything better, Kev? What I find interesting.
Well, you're just a bunch of right-wing conservatives.
All right. But Dave, I know that I talked a little. It was a little bit long-winded, but I wanted to know what your thoughts were about that argument.
I disagree. There's no evidence. I mean, this is something Mike Cernovich has said as well. There's absolutely no evidence from any advertisers. Show me the memos. You know, where's the evidence from any advertiser coming forward going, yeah, we've just want to put out a press release there to say that we're working with Google AdSense. We're no longer happy with certain content types, and nonsense. And just exactly what I've said when it came to the YouTube Heroes thing today, when they talk about mass flagging negative videos. Firstly, the only people who ever did mass flagging, it was always considered a negative thing, were YouTube vigilantes, or rather they operated on Twitter, and they would get a bunch of different YouTube accounts together and they would go and mass flag. Now they're encouraging something that was once against terms of service. No, this is absolute complete and utter bullshit. There's no evidence that advertisers have been asking for that, and I think this is just like a soft bigotry of low expectations in a sense. Oh, they were going to virtue signal for those poor advertisers who wouldn't be able for the content. When you actually use AdWords, which I've used many times, which is the same system the advertisers are using, there's no part of it that allows you to specify which ads you can and cannot use. And this business of it's not family friendly, well, I would simply say there's plenty of products out there that aren't family friendly. Give us a system. If YouTube is determined to make money out of the platform, which I don't think it fully is, I think it's actually investing more so in whatever it's trying to push on us. Why not introduce a non-family friendly advertising matrix for us to opt into?
I mean, they do that on like torrent sites and like the places nobody wants to go, right? How else are you going to find your Russian brides and your Asians in your area looking for
what Grade A Andre suggested was that advertisers should be able to essentially choose to, if you have an edgy product that's maybe a little bit risque, you want to advertise it in the commercial breaks in South Park or something like that, right? Which is not family friendly. Yeah, but you want your product to be shown there rather than like Pampers diapers and stuff like that, right? That's why not tailor the advertiser's product to the content rather than just say, well, some content is not advertiser friendly. Yeah, no, I agree with Dave. There should be a way for advertisers to actually say, actually we want the edgy people, we want the Milo Yiannopoulos of the world to buy our product because they're the only people who would buy our product.
Well, then it wouldn't be Google AdSense anymore. It would be Project Wonderful. They already do that.
There you go. And
YouTube's not going to use Project Wonderful because Google owns YouTube. But the thing is, Google AdSense doesn't just work with YouTube. They work with all kinds of sites. I use Blogger for my personal blog, and I've got stuff on there that's far more controversial than anything in my videos. Every single one of my videos has at some point in time been demonetized. What happens is I put the video up, it's up for a few days, it gets the bulk of the views that it's ever going to get, then it gets demonetized, probably because somebody watching it got PO'd and flagged it. And then I appeal and I give feedback, and in the feedback I ask what specific thing in the video is advertiser unfriendly, and a few days after that monetization is restored. I never have any problems with ads being removed or getting any feedback at all from Blogger saying that there's a problem with anything on my blog. And I'm pretty sure that my account would be, I'd be getting suspended, or I'd be getting something. I'd be getting my AdSense account suspended or something, and none of that's happening.
Yeah, they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. If you read the content guidelines for demonetization and what's considered advertiser friendly, it's deliberately vague completely. But the point I wanted to make was, as I said today, So they put up this thing in the YouTube Heroes to say you'll be able to mass flag negative videos. What does that mean? Negative videos. Please explain. This is totally in the eye of the beholder as to what hate speech is and what qualifies. They will never give you an example. I mean, it's a very simple thing to do. YouTube, give us an example of the kinds of content. Show us a video or two that, okay, guys, see this video over here? Yeah, can't do those. That stuff, and here's the reason why. That can't do those. No, that's not allowed. Okay, I'd be happy with that if I knew, but they won't. It's deliberately left like that way. And when I see this, it says, violence including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. That's the exact line. Now, okay, violence including display of serious injury. Does that mean you're going to crack down on UFC videos? Right? They display serious injury. No,
yeah, or go, blah, go, blah. That little girl who's like tells her the dog's on the leash and she says go, and then the dog goes, and then she ends up doing a face plant.
Right.
Yeah. That video would be demonetized because it's clear that girl, she's like maybe 3, was probably seriously injured by that incident.
I thought you were going to say she was being oppressed by that dog.
Absolutely, it was probably a male dog. Actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I responded to Armored Skeptic when he made a video. He was of the mindset that you've described there, Brian, which is the people who were saying, look, this is advertisers, this is clearly just advertisers. Now, I think that's entirely naive, but I made a video response to Armored Skeptic, and by the end of it, he was like, yeah, okay, I think you might be right on this. If you look at the very last component of the new terms, it says, okay, controversial or sensitive subjects, again, eye of the beholder, and events including subjects related to war. Oh, what? Can I not talk about World War One, or can we get specific?
Can you make historical videos about the war, and maybe just showing the kinds of airplanes there were, or like
right? Exactly. Political conflicts.
Okay, guys, let him speak.
Right, so you have political conflicts in there, right? Wait, right, so that could be anything. That could just be me saying, okay, I think Trump's gone 7% ahead of Hillary. That's a political conflict. Natural disasters. I'm not allowed to talk about, those poor, terrible people who just suffered from an earthquake, and tragedies, even if imagery is not shown. Now, that component that I've just read is very important because it clearly suggests to me that YouTube is not interested in alternative media. Just as Hillary Clinton is not interested in Breitbart and wants to shut it down, which her campaign has recently come out and said that she wants to shut down Breitbart. Extraordinary. They do not want people like InfoWars or Rebel Media or myself or anyone else who do what we do, or you guys for that matter. They don't want us operating on the site. We're not. This is their domain. We're in the House of Pain here. And people have said, well, hey, Young Turks got hit as well. Who cares? They have designed this system, as I've described, to be a bazooka to do the job of a BB gun. They are more than happy for there to be collateral damage, where you're going to have, far left regressives like fucking Cenk and co. hit as well. They don't care. So long as we lose, they will take collateral damage. It's entirely acceptable.
Well, I mean, to them, it's just, how much really different is the left channel on YouTube, the left, like the leftist, no, I don't want to say left, but like that particular part of the spectrum on YouTube, how different is it from regular media, establishment media?
Not much. The only difference is I do believe that the Young Turks are anti-Hillary, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah,
okay, so there's that thing. Like it's for them, that's like you were saying, it's collateral damage because they're not silencing their own message. They're still gonna control establishment media, but it's what I wanted to actually bring up, if I can remember, because I've just been waiting, is just this idea that, someone else go, because I can't remember and I apologize. It's
okay. Well, I can go on to the next question. Oh, Mike, I think Mike wants to chime in.
I think the problem they're encountering is, we mentioned earlier how advertisers can do this with South Park and so on. They can say if they want to have their commercials in a South Park episode, but that's largely because TV, even cable TV, have ratings. They are sort of mandated to have ratings so people know what to expect. And I think they're trying to approach YouTube with this same system, and and there aren't ratings on YouTube. There's nothing on my videos, for instance, that say, warning, there will be content on this that will make most terrestrial TV viewers go, what the hell is this? There's nothing actually officially hate speechy about it, but it's the kind of thing that advertisers wouldn't want to be associated with. So they're trying to figure out ways of applying those ratings, because we're not going to apply them ourselves. We don't even have to say warning explicit content with regards to the swear words and shit. So I think that this is the YouTube Heroes is the next step in figuring out how do we put ratings on things that advertisers can look at and decide whether this is good or bad. And unfortunately, I would say the collateral damage is things get caught in the net that aren't against the rules, like the stuff we talk about.
Yeah. In the case, because I did figure out what I was going to say. You were talking, Dave, about the these rules. They're just nebulous. And what I found is when you have these kind of nebulous rules, nobody knows what rules they have to abide by. That is a landscape that just hands the power over to the most outraged group of people. You're just essentially giving them and saying, yeah, you're the police now. You outlaws, let's give you sheriff badges. You're the guys who are going to police this. So it ends up happening is that you privilege the most trigger-happy authoritarian censors based on their own feelings of outrage. And that's what these vague rules do. Because nobody can defend against them. If somebody says this outrage is, what can you do? Can you say, well, actually, I didn't violate this explicitly stated rule. Thank you very much. You can't. You have no defense in this.
Yeah, I had four videos demonetized. One of them was 4 reasons not to vote for Hillary Clinton. It's pretty clear. I think I was a direct hit for these terms of service, actually, quite honestly.
And I have to say that even in months where I had not put up any content whatsoever, my YouTube AdSense revenue, my Google AdSense revenue, has never dipped below $700 in at least 2 years, right? Even in months where I didn't put up any new content. And yet the last 2 months, it's been just over $500 from Google AdSense. Canadian, right? Not American. There's none of that, the nice, that turns out to be more money. No, it's been down lower than it has been in years. And that has been regardless. Like I said, I have never dipped below $700, $800 a month, even in months where I didn't upload anything original, anything new. And yeah, the last 2 months just been not great. Not great at all.
In terms of Honey Badger
purge has begun.
In terms of Honey Badger Radio, though, I haven't actually noticed anything. I don't know if it's that they just don't listen to our streams, or they don't even want to bother, or what. If I look at my the stats right now, we've actually gone up in the last 2 months, which
must be nice. God damn it.
I don't know why we don't get hit. I occasionally get demonetized, but if I look on the demonetization, we've had 2 or 3 videos demonetized, and it's always because we used the questionable sometimes it's I think once it was because of we might have referenced Islam or terrorism. But no, it's really bizarre. I don't know why. I'm not exactly sure why we've not been hit.
I haven't had anything demonetized except my Brexit video, but that was just for a copyright claim on the music.
I wonder if it's just because we confuse the hell out of them. They don't even they can't even speculate on what we're doing. I don't know.
We're invisible.
Not anymore.
No, actually, interestingly, there's a thing that I've seen happen, and this was with Twitter, not with YouTube, but there was a phenomenon that started occurring on Twitter that I think was occurring because people were in the middle of arguments. They were reporting accounts they were arguing with as being hacked. And so you'd be in the middle of, like, right in the middle of an argument. You'd be reloading your screen, or, you know, looking at your notifications and everything, or even right in the middle of typing a tweet where it's on your screen. You're in the little window, you're typing the tweet, and all of a sudden your screen changes and says you have to change your password because your account has had suspicious activity. And I started talking about it. And when I started talking about it, other people started comparing notes with me, and a bunch of us were having the same experience with the same groups of people. And as soon as we started talking about it, it stopped happening. And so I'm kind of wondering if maybe Honey Badger Radio doesn't get targeted because they know it's going to be discussed, and it's going to be discussed in front of this specific crowd of listeners. And maybe we're not getting flagged by people because they don't want to draw attention to what they're doing.
Yeah, because I know that we're a smaller channel with only 30K subs, but we do have a pretty, like, we're pretty in terms of the actual activity of our subs. It's pretty high.
Well, we're not as big as Philip DeFranco, but we've probably tried suing more people.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, no, but so it's I guess it's a toss up. It might be that they just don't want to instigate the firestorm. And like I said, I know that we are a small channel, but I've had to greatly increase my estimation of our listenators' capabilities and dedication over the last month, significantly.
Absolutely, but essentially, I think that they're looking at the subscriber count, they're looking at the view count, and they're thinking that maybe it's they're a bigger fish to fry, despite the fact that I think that this particular channel has a particular type of following that is a little bit more proactive and a little bit more involved. It's not a casual channel. It's not a Philip DeFranco channel where you just watch and you just like, oh, that's interesting, and then you just like go on to the next thing. This Honey Badger Radio is a channel that's very, very determined to cultivate a certain type of audience, and that certain type of audience is a proactive and involved audience, and
with a particular set of skills.
Yes, and so essentially,
and they will find you.
I think that
and they will flag you.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! You're right.
They will troll you.
Because you know what was interesting? Like a couple, last year, I said, you know what, guys? It actually does help our advertising revenue if you take your ad block off. Within a week, we had gone up $300. They actually all did it. So it's really like, we have a very active audience, and I wonder if that's might play a part with us promoting a YouTube channel that's perhaps a little less, difficult. I'll call the Honey Badger Radio difficult, and then they just explode. Because we got these active listeners sharing them everywhere. I don't know.
But essentially what I think is they're just looking at the raw numbers, and they're thinking that you're not a threat. You're not something. Honey Badger Radio is not something that they need to bother with, because it's only got 30,000 subscribers, right? And so there's no threat there. Just leave that, like, bigger fish to fry. Even though I would actually say that in terms of the nature of the audience, Honey Badger Radio is actually much more effective in terms of activating people. So.
Thank you. Now that we've fluffed our own asses, or however that works, maybe we should move on to the next question.
So the next question, okay. Whew. Let's talk about Minds.com. So let's look at this. Some of this alternative media. I'm going to close the Hangouts here, and I'll share screens with you guys so that you can see as I manipulate it in real time.
As you manipulate the things, things, the memes. And
Brian,
yes,
might it be somewhat easier for me to share my screen and talk to you about mine?
Well,
It might not be because he's using a particular platform to do
Yeah, I'm using OBS to display this to other people, so I have to share my screen. But I am logged in. I have an account with Minds. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the features? Maybe you can just tell me to click on stuff, and I'll go there or whatever.
Well, I'd give you just a brief background of the history. So a couple of months ago, when Milo was disappeared from Twitter, I thought enough's enough. We've got to find something, and something that would really function as a replacement to Twitter, and maybe Facebook too. And so I found Minds, but I wasn't happy to say, okay, I could get a number of big YouTubers, the Bearings and Undooms and Sargons and Blair Whites of this world, and we could go and we could bring our audiences there. And I was happy enough that I could do that, but I didn't want to do anything or announce anything until such time that I'd spoken to the CEO, because the beauty of it being a smaller platform was that you would get access to the founders. And so I did. I got in touch with this wonderful gentleman by the name of Bill Ottman, who I'm going to be interviewing next Sunday. And we're going to do a full breakdown of the site and talk about the new features that are coming on stream, because it's still in beta right now. But it's grassroots, totally open source, so developers can come in and they can add to it and everything else, and help flesh it out further and add features, and which Facebook and Twitter can't do because they're not open source, and it takes forever for user recommendations to be implemented and to come to the site. Whereas Minds can, it's very easy, and it's a small community and people can just change it how they like, and if it's approved, it's approved. So Bill's a wonderful guy, and he really gets it with free speech, and that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know if this guy is on the same page when it comes to all speech matters, and that includes the speech that we don't want to hear necessarily, but I suppose all have to, and he does, and he absolutely gets it. And so everything we want to work on everything, developing a code for terms of service that are going to be not going to be in any way too elaborate, very simple stuff, and it's there to it's already got 500,000 active users per month, and it's kind of a mixture between Twitter and Facebook, in the sense that it makes use of hashtags, and it's kind of like Facebook in that you don't have a character limit, but you can also at people and communicate that way. Your profile is known as a channel, and so within that you have the ability to use it in much the same way as you would any other social network: upload photos and leave text-based posts, add links, share links. You can remind stuff. That's the version of retweeting or resharing. You can upload video, as I say. There's also a blog, so you can actually write blogs as well. If you go to, let me see what you're looking at right now. If you go to in the panel on the side on the left, down to the fourth button rather. There you go. Click on that. And so this is a blog section. So you can click on any one of these. You can create your own blog, or you can click on someone else's. So if some people, this is the whole purpose of this, is to get everybody to become a content creator. So if you're not a video maker,
so you can make a blog.
Writer.
They almost like articles.
Yeah, there's a shit ton of articles there. So there's a number of other things as well that are unique features. It has a boost system for content. So if you look up there, that's your profile, is it, Brian?
Yes, I'm logged in on my profile. I was just noticing that the YouTube Heroes video has this many dislikes to likes.
Okay. It's worse now. It's last time I saw it was well over 160,000 dislikes. So I think it's probably much higher again. It's probably over the 200,000 mark. If you look at there's a little house type icon there. You're very close to it. There
looks like a Parthenon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are your points. And you get rewarded with points from logging in every day to different activities. They're actually going to change the point system to favor content creators. So when you upload a video, put up a post, based on how many shares you get, based on how many likes and all this kind of stuff, you get rewarded with points. You can trade points with other people. They're going to add a cryptocurrency at some point. Long story short is, when you post something to your timeline, in much the same way as you would do on Facebook, you can hit the boost button and you can use your points, and you can get if you spend 100 points, that's 100 views. And so every 15th post in your timeline is a boosted post. It's kind of like someone else's ad, but it's from a content creator. And this is a much more egalitarian way with no background algorithm manipulation going on like you have on Twitter and Facebook because they want to push some agenda in your news feed. This is a much better way of going viral for people, and great discovery. I was talking to a gentleman before. He was saying, I've been on Twitter and Facebook for years. I've never had a following. I've had 1 or 2, Twitter followers or something, and then he says, now I'm on Minds, and I'm getting, I've already got 79 people following. So you imagine how much more it would be for a larger YouTuber. So I actually have some stats on how much better it is with respect to content discovery as well. So maybe I'll see if I can send you that and you can put it up on screen.
Okay. Let's see. So over here, this is home. I guess I joined some groups, I believe, but I haven't. To be honest, I haven't used it for that long. Here's Base Mama. She just put a thing up. I am testing out the video upload feature. If it's successful, then Minds.com gets my content, and YouTube gets a promo video with a link to Minds, because fuck YouTube and their red army of snitches and subversive censorship. Click on my profile to view the videos if you haven't already seen them. Hashtag YouTube is dead. Yeah. I had her on a couple weeks back. So, yeah, so I'm getting this in my feed right off the bat. She probably just did this, or no, this was today, earlier. Then I guess this is for uploading pictures and stuff. This is for looking for things. You can find groups and channels and stuff like that.
Again, some of these features, won't all remain. The great thing about this is, some people have said, hey, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that, but we can bring all of these things. We have a working group. We've had multiple sessions now at this point. I've gotten together. Most of the people I've said, who have had Crout and T, That Guy T, Bearing, Sargon, Blair White, Dr. Random Cam. You were on with us once, weren't you?
On what again?
You were on one of our Mind streams before, weren't you?
I was on one of your streams. You wasn't talking about Minds though. I only just joined though during this hangout. I signed up.
Look up Honey Badger Radio, yeah, because I'm pretty sure
I did. I'm pretty sure there is a group. So I'm subscribed to it as of this second, but it may be just like a fan group. There aren't many people here, so let's try looking this up another way.
Pretty sure I registered Honey Badger Radio, but maybe not.
But the plan is that what we're going to do is we're going to have a series of launches and announcements of new key features. Monetization is coming, and when that happens, obviously it means that it's going to go on videos, it's going to go on blogs, and I think that's going to be very significant. And then towards the end of the year, they're going to exit beta, and they're going to be in full release at that point. So when I talk to Bill next week, he's going to give us kind of the timeline, and some people have had some ideas, and I'm going to present them to him. So the great thing is that they're able to really move on this stuff very, very quickly. So
I go at Honey Badger Radio, because I'm pretty sure that's us.
So and it's all one word?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I might have misspelled it, but I think it's good. I think we have 4 subscribers. Yay! Okay, so if you want to find Honey Badger Radio on Minds, then you just go at Honey Badger Radio, and I'll figure out how to. Maybe I'll go the Based Mama route and do a promo video, and then point it to Minds, because I am sort of getting a little bit concerned about YouTube.
And Facebook. There's a Facebook page, and there's a Twitter, and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And by the way, when you message people, when you're on desktop, which you are right now, obviously, and you're messaging people like you are on Facebook, for example, and you have that little messenger box at the bottom. When you message people, it will ask you to enter your password again one time, and the reason it does that is because it's 2-step security. So unlike Facebook, where you have 0 privacy, in this setup, there's no way for Minds or anybody working there to actually know what the hell it is you're talking about, or you're typing, or any of your private messages. And this system, by the way, is built on AWS, which is Amazon's web services, and they've been unhackable basically because Anonymous tried to have a go and it didn't work out for them. So it's a very, very secure, very robust, and above all else, very scalable platform. Now, as people have put forward a couple of other different social networks, like what's that other one, Sea Lion Club, which is effectively a Twitter clone which emerged out of Gamergate, and it fell over after the Milo thing because a couple of thousand people went to it and it just collapsed. Whereas Minds, we could have 1 million people there tomorrow and wouldn't even slow down.
Cool.
Sea Lion is still there, but it I don't know that it can handle that much traffic, but it is still there.
Very slow. Yeah, it's still there.
Well, looks
Wow,
good.
this is really interesting. Yeah. A way to approach it might be to continue to upload on YouTube, and then also do a post on Minds. And if YouTube continues with its behavior or starts demonetizing, then there's no reason not to move over to Minds. Except for, I guess.
Looks like we're already at 34 subs now with Honey Badger Radio. Yeah.
Are you sure? Because I'm like.
No, I'm looking at it on my screen. Unless this is a different group, there is a Honey Badger Radio at Honey Badger Radio. Currently,
that's the one I've just subscribed to.
38 subscribers.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, that's me.
Yep.
Can you change your profile and add a banner for crap's sake? So
hey, I don't have the login info. That's Allison.
I think I have the login info. Yeah, so this is all
I don't have that. So yeah, there's that.
By the way, I sent your email, Badger Writes. I sent you an email that I think you'll find very interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to open it?
Go get it.
Yeah, if you could put it up on the screen, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, go get it and give me the link, and I'll put it on the screen. Send it to me through Skype, though. Otherwise, everyone that's watching will get the link because it'll pop up. Oh no, actually, it won't because I'm hiding Hangouts right now. So.
Okay. All right. So I'll just,
in the meanwhile, let's look at a couple of other ones. So, have you heard about Candid?
I have. Yeah, a number of people have done reviews on this, and this is very much mobile based. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I can't really bring it up on the screen here, but I am on Candid, and I'm in the Bearing group, and let me see here. I'm going to go back into it. I'm looking at it on my, but this is essentially a mobile, it's sort of like the answer to Twitter. At least that's what people are comparing it to. It's the closest thing. And, of course, as of right now, there is, this is definitely a no-holds-barred environment. It is a Wild West environment, so I'm just looking at the stuff on my feed, and I see things like "What will your 8-year-old self think of the person you've become" by Brave Octopus. I don't know these weird names. Grounded Bunny. I genuinely think any lies Hillary's told are overblown. She's probably more honest than the average politician. LOL.
Fuck.
I know. As I said.
Sarcasm. Might be sarcasm.
I added the LOL. She seemed serious when she wrote it, but I don't know. You can never tell. But the point is, it's here, and I can look some people up and find them. There's hot topics.
What's the web address for Candid?
Just becandid.com. But you gotta get the app. It doesn't have a web presence as far as I know it. So, but this is definitely like a Twitter alternative that you can use, and you can join groups and stuff. And Bearing, that's how I learned about it. And he has a group there, but I think there's plenty of other ones too, like the Rationalists and the Sargon types and whatnot. So, see if you can find it, and then let's try to find each other on Candid. I don't know how to use it yet, but Candid and Minds look like they have a great deal of potential, and I think that at some point we're not really going to be able to use Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. I mean, hell, you probably already can't really use Facebook, but people do because it's kind of like where everyone's at. So yeah, this is definitely a good option. I don't know if
I sent you Dave's image.
Okay, I don't know if you've looked too closely at Candid, Dave, or if you just know of it and that's it. But
I haven't looked too closely, but yeah, I'm aware of its existence.
Okay.
It's in your mental landscape. All right.
All right. I gotta hold on. I'm digging it out. I'd have to share the screen. So,
Yeah. Well, aren't you already sharing screens? It's
No,
like
I'm
we-
sharing screens, but I got to share screens with the people watching. So
I
that means
just wanna
I
say
have
at this
to.
point, YouTube somehow, obviously, they have the power to do things that we cannot. They have edited the YouTube Heroes video. They've, after a shit ton of criticism, changed it. They've made changes.
Okay.
They've made one particular video I've seen here. So before it said report negative videos. And now, this doesn't make any difference at all, but they've changed it to say report inappropriate videos accurately. We still don't know what's inappropriate, but I thought that was interesting. It now has 637,000 views, 3,536 likes. Why? And 213,527 dislikes. So.
Okay, so I've shared the image, and now the people who are watching can see it.
Okay, so this was a study that a guy did of interactivity on Facebook, Twitter, and Minds, and the comparison between them. I had this on my video today, and so he shared the same thing on all three networks. And you can see under preconditions, I think that's the number of so followers. That's the number of people he's following. Following and followers. So on Facebook, he has 203 followers. Twitter's 265, and Minds 221. So roughly the same in each one. And he's been active on Facebook and Twitter since 2009, and obviously mine since 2015. So on Facebook, he got a number of views. It's based on impressions, so you can never really tell how many views you got. So that's a question mark there. And you got 1 like. Obviously, there's no downvotes because Facebook is a happy, clappy place where you have to feed the narcissism by only ever having likes and positive enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And then 0 reposts. And in Twitter, 31 views, and then obviously likes are not applicable there, or rather they are. They're favorites.
Favorites.
Like a post, and then no downvotes. Obviously that doesn't apply. So 0 retweets, and then Minds, he had 1,351 views, and he had 84 likes, 8 downvotes, and 7 reminds. So it just goes to show that proportionally speaking, because there's no manipulation or bullshit going on, you get an awful lot more bang for the buck in terms of your engagement.
And I wonder, is it because of the because I know that with like Twitter and Facebook, people have said that they don't feel like their posts or their tweets reach as many people, and they suspected it's because of the kind of content they have. This, I assume, for Minds, that doesn't apply at all, and it's just like whoever sees it, right? But they don't have a filtering that they do in the same way that, say, Facebook does. Because you know how like they say.
Well,
go ahead.
No. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just like, Facebook recently, not too long ago, Lauren Southern did a bit where it was discovered that Facebook was essentially blocking conservative content. So people who were looking for conservative news sources and stuff that might be trending or popping up in the feed. Sometimes you just see stuff on your Facebook feed that is news. They were saying that conservative news sources were being blocked, or at least you can't see them. They don't show up. And sometimes you'll have friends that will be trying to share it, and it won't be visible in your feed. It won't even be stuff that's offensive. It's just coming from a certain source.
Yeah, on Facebook. Yeah. I mean, even Facebook
and Twitter.
Yeah, and they came out afterwards saying we were told to censor. We're actually told to censor this stuff. That was part of the culture in Facebook. Yeah, I mean, Minds has just got everybody politically all over the map, from your fiscally conservative libertarians to your center-right people and your far-right people and your left and your classical liberals and everybody across the spectrum. So everybody gets an equal bite at the cherry in terms of engagement.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, this is a very interesting study. So, and look, in such a short amount of time, because you see it says joined in 2015, more followers. Oh no, close to, no, definitely more if you think about it, like proportionately. And
yeah, I gotta say, this is just my feelings, my feels over facts. So allow me to sound like a feminist here just a little bit, but I gotta say, when I look at the political landscape in general, and I look at the difference between Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and this kind of very Orwellian, constant nanny state, horrible Big Brother supervising, condescending approach to terms of service, and how we're just kind of babied so much, and told, you know, we're hateful and bigoted, and I'm just so fucking sick of it. And I look at I look at everything, and I think it's all kind of interconnected. You know, what's happening on the internet, what's happening in the real world right now, and the mainstream media. And I look at, you know, something like Brexit, for example. I mean, the whole thing is that people respond to positivity because I think positivity is what builds, you know, it builds the future. And the whole reason I think that Brexit won, not least of which because the facts were on the Leave campaign side, but because it was positive. It was like things are going to get better, and everything on Remain's side was like, you know, the world is going to collapse. And I think it's the same with, you know, Trump and Hillary. You know, everything Trump does, every tweet is positive and upbeat, and it's going to get better, and we're going to make America great again. And everything with Hillary is just negativity and scandals and sickness and deplorable people and everything else. And mine's, you know, unlike Facebook and Twitter and everything else, it's the same. You know, it's positive. You know, the people over there are excited, and there's a buzz about the place, and it's new, and it's going somewhere, and people know that this kind of mindset is the future, and that's what builds something. So, mine's gives me an awful lot of hope, I think.
You know, it's funny that you would mention that because my next question was kind of related to it. Before I ask it, though, I do want to give a short shout out to two other spaces that I don't know if you've heard of, and if you want to like drop any comments about it. One is called VidMe, which is another sort of video upload space. So I don't know much about it. I know that Scott recommended it, and I have actually looked at this before because we were thinking YouTube, you know, might be kill as a result of not just this, but stuff from before. So I was looking at VidMe as another option. So this is another video place.
Yeah,
I've uploaded there.
Oh yeah.
It works pretty well.
Okay, and somebody else was going to say something.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a little better, a little more stable and faster than something like. Whoa, what's happening there? Sorry, that was a video started up when I went to vid.me. I think it's a little more stable than something like Dailymotion, which has largely been neglected. So if you do want a purely just video sharing site, because, you know, mine's is kind of a all things to all people. You know, vid.me is probably the best of the video sharing alternatives.
All right, and then another one is this one. You guys may have heard of this from back when was it Pow? I think that was her name. She was running Reddit, and she was running it into the ground, and everyone left, and they went to another place called Vote. And so I know that Reddit is been coming under fire, but then it was saved, and now I don't know where it stands. I don't really use it, but I'm reminding people that there is this place called vote.com, voat.co, actually, not com. And it's sort of like another Reddit. It's like a replacement. So stuff's coming up at all times. Anybody have thoughts about that too? No?
It's not as active as Reddit, but it should be. And there's also another Reddit alternative called socialfreespeech.com. And that one is a sort of a fledgling site at this point, but it's basically a Reddit clone. And that's SOC and then the words free speech, all one word, .com. So I would check them both out.
Okay, I'm putting it up on the screen so you guys can see. This better not be porn, Hannah. All right, yeah. So SOCfreespeech.com. That looks just like Reddit. And there's another option. So if Reddit's getting too totalitarian and they're starting to like kick people out and do all kinds of dumb shit, you can check out Vote or SOC Free Speech. So my next question for Dave. Thanks, Hannah, by the way. You were just talking about what was going on, and I had this on my list because I had been giving this thought a lot. Have you noticed, and I know I have, a ramping up of all this political and social discourse as we moved from, it seems like ever since Gamergate started, and this has probably been bubbling under the surface before that, but and I'm not saying that it's completely related to Gamergate, however, it's just a timing that seems, that I find interesting. Since Gamergate started, all the way on through Brexit, now leading up to the American presidential election, this discourse, this political stuff, this bipartisanship has been growing so much, and it's getting so loud on the internet. It's like incredible. And so that's what I've noticed, and I wanted to know if you'd noticed the same, since you're like in another country and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely, it was on a low, kind of a low simmer, I suppose, and now it's been brought to a boil. Yeah, all roads, I think, are leading to the presidential election, and I think that, like Brexit, as soon as, it's funny, I watched the Jimmy Fallon video with him.
The one that everyone got so mad at because he treated Trump like a human being?
Like a human being.
Yeah.
And it showed that the guy is not, it's not literally Hitler. By the way, I just want to say, I really fucking resent what these kids have done to the word literally.
Yeah.
Because now it means figuratively, for fuck's sake.
And it literally does. And I understand the irony of my using the word literally to describe that, but I think even in the dictionary, literally means figuratively as one of its definitions. Yes.
Jeez, it'll pass. There was a generation in which square meant being trustworthy and sound, and then a generation later, it meant somebody who was boring and nerdy and not
uncool.
Not cool in the least. And a generation after that, using the word square to describe a person meant you were boring and uncool. It fell out. I think literally is going to fall out because people are going to get pissed off with people using it too much.
Yeah, let's hope. I think with the Jimmy Fallon interview, it was really a case of there's some people clearly in the mainstream starting to realize, okay, this guy could genuinely be the next president. And what you always find is that the mainstream are invariably, they resist for a time, but they eventually become pro-establishment of the whatever political party are in power. And I think it's the same. It's like, okay, he's probably going to be the next president, and that video really demonstrated that to me. So yeah.
But it does seem to stand out as an anomaly. I mean, my God,
I think Jimmy Fallon was just trying to knock Trump's toupee off his head. I think that was part of the plan. Hey, Jimmy, go out there, ruffle his hair, and then his toupee will come off, and the whole country will laugh at how bald he actually is, and then Hillary will win. Unfortunately, he couldn't get off his head, so everyone shouted at him. We could so easily be in another universe where everyone's praising Jimmy Fallon as a hero for exposing Donald Trump as the bald cunt he is.
Yeah. Although I have a suspicion that all of those Tonight Show interviews, all of them, they're all staged and they're all sort of practiced, and everyone knows what's going to happen in advance that's appearing on those shows, and they're almost always out there to promote or sell something. It's like
with the jar of pickles.
A late show is essentially, how long are they these days? I don't even watch them anymore, but if they're like an hour, which is I think what they used to be, they're essentially a 1 hour long commercial for every film, book, musical album, or whatever it is that the guests that happen to be on that day are trying to sell. And then when they talk to the host, it's just like they're just having this little, it's like a puff piece essentially that looks, I think we give it more credit than it deserves. Maybe I'm really cynical, but that's what I suspect. And maybe Jimmy Fallon genuinely doesn't want to sort of plant a flag, and I think he stands out because, if Trump was on, first off, he probably wouldn't even get a spot on most other shows like that. But if he did, it would probably be a reason to try to find some way to humiliate him, which wouldn't work because generally it seems like everything is bouncing off no matter how hard they try. But I'm sorry, I waffled on enough. So Dave, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think that don't be surprised when there's a Joe Cox type situation from the Hillary camp in the next little while. I wouldn't be surprised. They'll try something dirty like what the Brexit Joe Cox situation. I wouldn't be surprised. They'll have some Pepe meme, person with a supposed staged Trump supporter with a "Make America Great Again" baseball cap go in and shoot up the place. I think it'll be dirty tactics are going to get tried, but I don't think that'll work, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think that they need to just embrace Pepe. Just embrace him. He means you no harm. Feels good, man. And,
But it was hilarious when Hillary started reading out like Milo's articles about would you rather your children had feminism or cancer. It was just like, oh my god, it's so, and the sanctimonious face. You know, it's like I rebutted a video on Undoom's channel about a feminist who was reading out tweets that were left on her daughter's page, and she says, look at these horrible trolls, oh my god, these people have totally taken over the comment section. And she was just standing there with this really angry look on her face in front of a bunch of other feminists, and she was saying, comment 23, feminists can't take a joke. And she's real serious. And the next one, comment 25, I would compare you to I'd call you a feminazi, but that's an insult to Nazis. And she's standing there, and I'm just like, that's actually pretty funny. This is the point. This is the reason they come after you, because it's funny to do it, and they get this rise out of you. You keep reacting exactly the way they want you to. If you just stopped and took a fucking joke, they wouldn't get any more mileage out of it.
Have you seen there was a commercial or it was like a PSA that Joss Whedon directed recently. I think I saw it the first time yesterday, and he had essentially like a ton of movie stars, most of them the people that have worked for him, so guys from the Avengers films and all that. Yeah, and they're all going in, and it's essentially this supposedly it starts out as maybe you should go out and vote, and by the end of it, they're calling Trump everything they can under the sun, especially Don Cheadle. I felt like, whoa, dude, you're really invested in this. You're really angry, dude. And it was just the reason why I bring it up is it reminds me very much of the same kind of tactics that are employed by feminists that have a lot more media presence, that are usually either selling their product of feminism, or they're demonizing MRAs by either usually cherry picking things that MRAs never said, that are usually said by people like Roosh V or pickup artists or just guys on the Red Pill subreddit, or guys like Elliot Rodger that have absolutely nothing to do with any of that stuff. It feels so similar to that, and I know that I'm using feels here, but the tactics are the same, and it's so deplorable.
They are. And this dumping the alt-right and everything within it. And to be honest, I'm unsure as to whether I'd ever identify with the alt-right, quite honestly, because I don't. But it's, as well, it's unfortunate, but I think this is the internet and how it exacerbates and accelerates everything. Everything seems to be metastasizing so much faster as ideas kind of... I get that the mark. I think Karen is saying something there. Is Karen going to leave us?
Karen, you have to leave. I
gotta go.
Okay. Do you have any?
I have to go.
Any final thoughts?
I have to go, and I have no time. Adieu to you and you. So long. Good night. I have to go. I'm being called away. So I have no final thoughts because I don't have time.
You have no thoughts.
None.
Your head is as empty as a coconut shell with no coconut in.
Pretty much, yes, and no coconut milk either. So, but Dave, it was good having you on again. It was nice to talk to you, and everybody else. Thank you for allowing me to
rub your e-peen over everything.
Yeah, rub my e-peen all over everybody's face. Yes, that was excellent, and I look forward to the next time. But I've got to go. So
go, be dead to us now.
This is the longest goodbye in Hangout history, Karen.
Oh my God, you guys are all dead to me.
Bye, Karen.
See you later.
Bye, Karen.
All right.
Jeez. I think I might have to go too soon because
I thought she'd never leave. Actually, we're on the last question, so we can actually close it out.
I'm having trouble standing up now.
That's okay. So what's your game plan going forward for dealing with the increasing censorship of social media? Do you have any suggestions for anybody else who might be listening?
Yes, I'm very fond of Heineken now. I think Heineken works wonders in large copious amounts. I quite honestly, I hope that it doesn't all end in tears very suddenly. I hope we can begin a gradual, gentle migration to better platforms. Hopefully our adversaries, who's, we are in their domain, hopefully they give us enough time to complete that transition. Because, I look at, no disrespect to Milo, but if we look at what's happened to him, yes, he's news presence, and he will always and forever be the first person who was properly kicked off of Twitter. So they can never take that away from him, although they have taken his account away from him. But I do look at it and think, in all fairness, his star has waned since he left Twitter, and we don't hear much from about him. His stats on his YouTube are nowhere near that of what his engagement on his Google Plus and everything else. None of these things are the same, and it's kind of tragic. And I hope that he's able to come back. We hope to get him on Minds. We've discussed significantly, with the topic of Minds with Dave Rubin, among others. By the way, InfoWars are over there. This is an aside. But I do wonder what happens to all of us when we get kicked off our primary platforms. That's the concern. So right. I hope that we have enough time to switch over gradually.
But have you seen Milo yesterday? I think he hit Super Saiyan level 3 because he sang the national anthem while in drag in a giant blonde wig. So
yeah, he's going to have to keep doing bigger and bigger things in order to get noticed, because his social presence, unfortunately, unless of course he's able to carve out something else, and I'm sure he will. It's just for now. The thing is, Milo benefits from the fact that he's also with Breitbart, and that opens up a number of other opportunities, and he's got all these celebrity friends. But the most of us who are just full-time YouTubers, now we have to kind of start from scratch on other platforms, while hopefully still being on YouTube enough that we can start to sell the value of being somewhere else. It can be difficult for us, and I fear, Brian, honestly, we probably will lose a few people, and those people may never recover, because some of them may be so jaded and broken by the experience, they may just go, right, they may even be unemployable, like myself. I don't think I'd get a job working in a normal job again. There's no feminist employer over here in this very feminist country of mine who's actually going to hire me. And I've said things about Black Lives Matter, so obviously that makes me a racist. And I've said things about Islam, so obviously that makes me a racist as well somehow. But so I don't know, and I fear for those people who are in that situation.
That's
that's
part of why it's so exhausting, right? Because that every time you have an opinion that has been considered unacceptable, wrongthink, it puts you at a disadvantage. I mean, I've lost real life friends for sticking up for men's issues, and it's tough. This is very tough, but it is I think it's a war of ideas, and it's also a war of endurance.
Yeah, and as well as that, there's I have to. This is the thing I started when I began at the start. You have to learn to. I am not jealous of Milo. I love Milo. Somebody said that in the chat. I have to say that I had a point there. What was it? You have to learn to turn off in the real world, because occasionally people who I know I'm friends with, I haven't thankfully lost any friends yet. One or two people don't speak to me as much, but when I do, sometimes they will call, question me on something I've said, and we end up getting into a conversation about it in the real world, and I find that exhausting by comparison to having that debate online. And I want very much this stuff in my life to stay on my computer, basically online. I don't want to really drag it out into the real world. So you find yourself having to bite your tongue a lot sometimes.
Oh yeah, I do.
And twist the conversation around, and maybe make a joke, and just kind of play it off for laughs. So that's the challenge emotionally.
Yeah, this is once in a while I can't keep it in, man. I saw there's this one video that I saw recently where this guy, it's called Unboxing Masculinity, and it's like an unboxing. That thing left me so fucking furious. I had to share it and tell him to go fuck himself, because I just didn't like the way that he was treating regular ass men that are just trying to go through their life and not be molested, So anyway,
speaking of going fucking yourself,
we should go fuck ourselves too.
Yes,
so
we should go fuck off.
Do you want to close us out, Allison?
Sure. Guys, go to @honeybadgerradio on minds.com and increase the subscriber count. Because
change your profile and put in your
did.
banner.
I did.
Good.
Let me
Oh,
refresh
yeah.
the page so we can look at it.
Yes, let's look at it. Let's.
Bask in banneriness.
Yes, I
Sort of a crappy version. Of it.
badgery banneriness. Badgery.
Yes,
banner?
battered badgers. There you go.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Banner. I mean, honey badger. Wait, why am I not seeing this?
You gotta,
I don't know.
I'm sharing it. It's a coat
Also,
of
I-
arms.
Yeah.
There we are. Wonderful. Oh, you changed it.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what I said.
That's what we
Of
said.
course, I really do not like that red space over there. I feel that I'm being, I'm letting the design down. A teal deer would probably get on me on that because there's excessive amount of space to the left. So I'll have to work with that and make it work.
We
Yeah,
should just
they
fill it
should
with
do
a collage of
dimensions
badgery
still.
characters. That's what we should do.
They specify the exact dimensions that are optimized for banners now, but there are more banner controls coming as well. So, and
That'll be
actually,
good.
if you guys please play with the site, please play around with it and mess with it and everything else, and share your stuff there. But when you encounter issues or you encounter things that you don't like or would like to see, or there's features that are not there, email me, tell me, and come up with a list of you'd like to see changed, and we'll see what we can do.
Excellent.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it definitely is a selling feature to be closer to the founders and the people creating this. All right, let's usher this out, Brian. I don't think there's any more shit posting to be done.
All right then. I want to thank you, Dave. What?
How does Disney do it? How did it? No. Good night. No, never mind. Doesn't matter. I
Good
just had a
night.
thought.
And good luck.